dessert. Dessert and heart health. Sugar, simple white refined sugar, is the enemy of your heart. So we're going to show a lovely carrot cake, not the kind slattered with cream cheese frosting, but a lovely light carrot cake that actually is supportive of your heart's wellness. And I have to say, I don't get attached to many material things, but this pan, this bundt pan, not to coin too famous a phrase from a film, but this bundt is actually from my mother-in-law, who is now 99 years old. And it's cast iron. It's seen better days, but it is the most perfect pan, and every cake I make in it turns out perfectly. I said jinxing myself, I know, but every cake comes out perfectly, and it's just so sentimental. My mother-in-law said to me one day, you know, I'm getting old. What do you want from the house when, you know, when I die? You know, she's older. They always talk about dying. I said, I want the bundt pan. So she said, take it now. So I did. So this is my bundt pan. When you oil a pan for baking, make sure you get into all the little decorative grooves so that you actually, you know, the cake comes out. So now we're going to mix the cake. And, oh, I need a mixing bowl. Wow. Okay. So we're going to start by measuring our flour. I'm going to use whole wheat pastry flour, or you can use sprouted whole wheat. I need 1.5 cups. Now, when you bake, everyone panics when they bake. It's a science. It's not. Baking is a passion. It's not really a science. If you love baking, you're great at it. If you don't, you'll be okay if you follow a recipe. I never follow recipes anymore. I sort of measure. Like this is sort of a 1/2 cup of almond flour, sort of. About 1.5 cups of flour, maybe another 1/2 cup of semolina. If you don't have semolina, leave it out. Use another 1/2 cup of the whole wheat pastry. The semolina just gives me a light golden color. That's it. We're going to use 6 tablespoons, generous, of coconut sugar, a low glycemic index sweetener made from coconut sap that's going to give us a brown sugar kind of flavor. Amazing. If you get 5 tablespoons, you get 5. If you get 7, you get 7. It doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is baking powder and baking soda. We're going to use 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon, so 4 of these, okay? Again, carefully measured. And 1/2 the amount of baking soda. The reason you have to sort of measure these is because if you use too much baking powder and baking soda, your cake won't rise any better, but you'll have a bitter metallic aftertaste. So you don't want to do that. Do what it calls for. Pinch of salt. Then we'll take some ground cinnamon. I also don't follow any rules. I know at this point I should be telling you to sift and whisk and sift, and I don't do any of it. So if you want to sift and whisk, feel free. But if you don't, don't. I don't. Everything has to be easy or I can't, you know what I mean? I'm busy. I would love to say I was a domestic goddess that stayed home all day and cooked and baked, but I don't. I start cooking dinner just like everybody else around 7 o'clock at night. I need to get it on the table, and once or twice a week I have the time to bake, which I wish I had more time to bake, but I don't. So once your dry ingredients are ready, then you can start adding your liquid. And we're going to start with, it's not really liquid, but the zest of an orange. And you just want a light flavor. You don't even need to get the zest of the entire orange in here. You just want to get a little hit, because we're also going to add orange juice and orange extract. So you don't want to get too carried away. And then we're going to grate carrot right into our dry ingredients. The finer your grater for the carrot, the more tender your cake will be. A lot of people like to do a really big sort of chunky grate on a box grater. I really don't like to do that. I think the cake is more moist if you use a smaller grate. So you can use anywhere between 1/2 cup and 1 cup. I know that's a lot of variation, but when you're doing this, the more carrot you add, the less liquid you'll add. The less carrot, the more liquid. So it's your taste, man. It's your cake. Okay. I'm going to call that about 1/2 cup. Who knows if I'm right or wrong. Now we'll take and add fresh orange juice after we add our extracts. Vanilla. Again, good vanilla, real vanilla. Don't buy the cheap stuff. It'll taste metallic and not serve the purpose. a little orange extract, but be really careful with this stuff. A tiny bit goes a really long way. If you use a lot of orange extract, you get just a metallic taste and no orange at all. Now we'll add the juice of a fresh orange, the one you just grated. Try to keep the seeds out of the cake batter. That would be nice. Okay. And now we'll add our fat, which is heart-healthy olive oil, about a 1/4 cup. So it's not a lot. And I do measure my fats and my liquids, because if you add too much oil to a cake batter, to a pie crust you're okay, but to a cake batter, your cake can end up heavy and oily tasting. So you want to make sure that when you add your liquids, especially the fats, that you're a little more careful. And now we start adding a little bit of water. Start with about a 1/2 cup and slowly start to mix. When your batter comes together in what we call a smooth, spoonable batter, that's what you're looking for. So we're going to go for about a cup. It's going to matter and determine your water based on how you store your flour. If you store it in the fridge or the freezer, it has more liquid in it, more moisture. You're going to need less liquid when you make your batters. If you store it in the pantry, you'll need more. If it's a dry day, you'll use more liquid. If it's humid, you'll use less. So there's a little bit of variation, but what you're looking for is what's called a smooth, spoonable batter. And since I'm doing it, you're seeing what that means. It's a batter that just is silky, smooth, and not quite runny, but not stiff either. And then comes where you have to be a little bit dexterous. So you start pouring batter, carefully balancing your spoon, and turning the pan at the same time. This is where, if you have kids, you get them to help you turn the pan so that your cake batter gets in there evenly. You scoop it all out. That's a really perfect batter, I gotta say. I always laugh when people say that on TV. This is a perfect batter. It better be. You're on TV making it. Okay. Then you go in with your spoon and you just lightly lift out any air bubbles. Don't do that thing where you slam the cake down. Bad idea. Your cake will be sunk in the middle and won't rise. So this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 35 minutes. When you can touch the top and it springs back, the cake is done. So I'll see you in a minute. Well, actually 35. Okay, so our cake is cooled, ready to be turned out. So now you just put a plate over it and you gently flip it. And you should hear a nice little pop as your cake comes out. And here you have this perfect, beautiful bundt cake, which you can glaze or serve just as it is. So what are you waiting for? Let's get back to the cutting board and make our hearts healthy. See you next time on Christina Cooks.